Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union 2022 Financial Webinar Series. Today's presentation is brought to you in partnership with Coffee, a nationwide financial coaching and education center focusing on improving the financial health of individuals. As the premier credit union of Prince George's County, we have joined with Coffee to expand our mission of providing quality financial education to our community and lending insight into credit management, home ownership, and money management. Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution serving anyone who lives, works, or worships in Prince George's County, Maryland. We are one of the county's best-kept secrets with competitive loan and savings rates, as well as discounts to national retailers. We currently serve over 17,000 members in the area and welcome you to come and experience the benefits of membership as well. Later on in the presentation, we will display our contact information and answer any specific questions you may have concerning your financial needs. It's not too late to invite your friends and colleagues to join today's webinar. You should have received an email about 30 minutes ago. In that email is a link that you can pass along for them to register and join the call. Please note that today's webinar is live and all phone lines have been muted. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in the question box on the right-hand side of your menu bar. All questions are private and will be addressed at the end of our discussion. We will also be offering a free 60-minute financial coaching session with the completion of 3 webinars. For more information on this, wait till the end of today's presentation. Lastly, a recording of today's session will be available later on today on our website, and you can find that at www.princegeorgescommunityfederalcreditunion.org/webinar. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Doris Baker.
Thank you, Gerald, and hello, good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me nicely. Thank you for the invitation to allow Coffee to come and share some financial literacy and insight. And today we're going to be talking about making the most of the gig economy, how to set up a second income stream without cramping your lifestyle. That's the operative there, without cramping your lifestyle. Now listen, there are only 2 ways to live a debt-free, and we know that debt-free equals stress-free life as well. One is to spend less, of course. The other is to earn more. Usually we here at Coffee, we like to tell you about ways to save money you already have. But today, let's talk about bringing in a little extra without using up all your free time. Because after all, you work so you can enjoy the rest of your life. Working a little extra without a whole lot of extra work means only one thing and one thing only. It means that you're dipping your toe into what we call the gig economy. Let's talk about it. Next slide, please. So, what exactly is the gig economy? And really, it's hard to say since there's no really official definition. But typically, when someone mentions the gig economy, they're really talking about what's missing, and that's usually full-time employment. That includes part-timers, it would include contractors, freelancers, and of course, entrepreneurs. What's the difference among all those? Just like the term gig economy, excuse me, it's hard to say. But let's give you some basic definitions within these next few slides. Next slide, please. Now, part-timers can work as little as a few hours a week and as many as 34, and that's by law. After that, you must be hired as a full-time employee. Part-timers work for one place on a regular schedule, and usually they can receive limited benefits. Let's talk about independent contractors and freelancers, are descriptions that are often used interchangeably. But one handy definition is that contractors indeed have what's called a contract, whether it's for one project for 1 week or a bunch of work over an entire year. They're guaranteed to get paid from a single employer. On the other hand, there's freelancers. They also work by the project, but it can be a much less formal agreement, and they can work for many different clients at once. Entrepreneurs cover everything from, say, a teen starting a lawn service to a mom starting a babysitting service. It can even be a tech guru launching the next Amazon or Google. Whatever they do and however they do it, these gig economy jobs have become very popular. And you may ask, well, Doris, how popular have they become? And we're going to look at that on the next slide, please. In 2005, the federal government did a study, and that's been quite a while, we know, and concluded that the gig economy, accounted for roughly 2 to 4% of all workers. Well, today it's well over a third, a total of 35% of all workers in this country are making money by not working in traditional full-time jobs. That's 57 million people, and they contribute almost $1 trillion to the economy every year. That is a very staggering number, and I'm sure that it is growing. Next slide, please. Just about 4 in 10 workers in the gig economy use it as their primary source of income. In other words, they don't have full-time jobs, either by choice or because they were laid off, fired, or the company downsized. But the other 6 in 10 use the gig economy for what's called side gigs. That's the part of the gig economy we're going to focus on today because it's a great way to do something that we always talk about here at Coffee, and that's to get out of debt and stay out of debt. Now, if you already have steady work, whether it's full-time or otherwise, let's start talking about side gigs that can help you bring in just a little bit more extra income. Next slide, please. So let's start this part of our discussion with the easiest extra work you can get these days, and that's picking up a few shifts at a nearby retail outlet. Now, whether it's flipping burgers or folding sweaters, bagging groceries, you might not make more than minimum wage, but you'll ease into the gig economy. Best of all, the shifts you'll seek, which would most likely be nights and weekends, are the ones that managers often have the biggest problem filling. If you're not sure how to get started in side gigs, then this is the easiest part. Next slide, please. If you have skills, okay, that can be done virtually, for example, like writing, designing, or coding, then you might be able to find work online. Some of the most popular sites to search are Upwork, Guru, People Per Hour, and freelance.com. Now, the downside is that the work listed on these sites is quite competitive, okay? Still, it's good to just see what your options are, and you can always pursue the same kind of work locally. Next slide. Speaking of local work, if you're wondering what you can do to make a few bucks, you need to look at yourself first. Say, do you have a second language? Are you seriously into yoga? Are you proficient at piano? You might be able, listen, to teach those skills to others for a fee. That also goes for skills like bookkeeping and public relations. If you possess a skill others will be willing to pay for, you can post those to your social media with your church or log onto nextdoor.com if you haven't already. That neighborhood site is perfect for listing local opportunities. So keep that in mind. Nextdoor.com. Moving on to the next slide. Now, while the pandemic has altered the rules for many school districts, most still need a stable of substitute teachers, and I think we're seeing that everywhere now. According to the jobs site ZipRecruiter, hourly pay for substitute teachers range from $10.65 per hour in Mississippi to nearly $16 an hour in Massachusetts. You can do the research for your own particular state or area. You'll need a high school diploma, and some states do require a special test to get a license. Check with your state's requirements. I jumped a little ahead of myself. But you can also tutor privately. Like we mentioned, you can advertise for free on social media and nextdoor.com, but check out these websites specifically for tutors. And that those websites are Wisant, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, Tutor Matching Service, and Knowledge Round Table. These are three of the biggest, but there are many more. And we know how we could find those many more by simply doing a Google search. Next slide, please. Now, what if you don't know a second language or have a unique talent? What if teaching isn't for you? Well, you can still find work if you're a friendly soul and a hard worker. Now, we're talking about dog walking, things like personal assistance, childcare, and janitorial help. You can advertise locally, like we've been talking about, using social media and again, nextdoor.com. But you can also check out websites like care.com, I've heard of that, dogwalker.com, and taskrabbit.com. You'll see them there on your slide, among many others. You cannot only list your services, they also offer helpful advice for making the most of your time and the most money. So these websites would definitely be a plus in your arsenal if you are looking to get into the gig economy. Next slide, please. Now, let's just spend a few moments talking about side gigs we've all probably heard of. And you might think they're an easy way to make money. First, there's, of course, Uber and Lyft. These are indeed good and legitimate side gigs, but it's not as easy as just signing up to chauffeur people around or deliver food. There are minimum requirements and there's a screening process. So check out Uber and Lyft's websites first and read up on what you'll need to do. Same thing goes for things with medical billing from home. The legitimate jobs, and we'll talk about the scams because they're out there in just a moment, require training, okay, and testing. As for direct sales like makeup or vitamins you sell to friends and family, these are definitely harder than they look. You really need to study up and do some math. You need to really think about, will you make money or end up buying a closet full of products that you won't be able to sell off, okay? Because the entire objective is for you to make money in order to reduce debt or save. Next slide, please. For everything I just mentioned, there are also, unfortunately, people, scammers out there who want to do what? Take your money. Don't sign up for any driving services that you don't first research thoroughly. Be wary of medical billing operations that want you to pay for a pricey course up front. And listen, please avoid multi-level marketing firms that urge you to make money by signing up more sellers instead of actually selling the product. Finally, don't fall for these three scams. You can't make money taking online surveys, okay? You cannot. Being a mystery shopper or stuffing envelopes. In all those cases, you'll either have to spend money to get involved or you'll make so little it won't be worth your time, okay? We see these advertised quite a bit, but believe us, we've done the research and the money you make may not be worth the time you spend, even if you make the money. Moving on to the next slide while I try to drink something for my throat. So, how can you tell the scams from the legitimate offers? Well, luckily, there are websites that can help you. Start with the Better Business Bureau and see if the company is listed there. Search online reviews from sites like Trustpilot and consumeraffairs.com. And don't forget to check out the company's very own website. If there's no about page, or if it doesn't list a complete corporate history and names of its leaders, it might not pass your smell test. Okay? Think of it this way: you wouldn't want to spend thousands of dollars without researching the product or service you want to buy. Do the same thing with the money that you want to earn. Next slide. So, okay, we've saved the most boring part for the end, okay, nearing the end. Who likes talking about taxes? And you don't need to raise your hand anything because very few of us really do. Well, it's important, and we have to talk about it during this presentation. If you make more than $600 a year from one employer, and we really want you to make more than $600, then don't forget to tell who? Our friends at IRS, Internal Revenue Service. Under those circumstances, that employer should send you what's called a 1099 form. Please don't ignore it because you don't want to irk the IRS. Okay, so remember the figure $600, and we're all looking to make more than that if we sign up or sign on to a additional source of income. So remember, $600 must be, if it's 600 or over, must be reported. Next slide, please. Now, the average credit card interest rate, I couldn't let you go without getting around to credit cards, fluctuates, okay? The rate fluctuates. But as of recently, it was hovering close to 20%, some even higher. Yes, indeed. That means for every $5 you charge, you're paying $1 to your credit card company for the privilege of carrying a balance. Imagine how much you'll save if you pay off all your balances. That's where your first side gig cash should go. Once you pay off those steep balances, you'll not only keep making money, you'll have freed up a bunch to do other things with. What things? Well, of course, I'm going to share that with you by moving to the next slide. If the pandemic has taught us anything, and it's taught us a lot, it's that anything can happen anytime. But leading into the pandemic, polls showed less than half of Americans had $1,000 saved up for emergencies. To cover their bills, many have run up their credit cards, and we just discussed what a bad idea that is and why it's a bad idea. So start funneling your side gig earnings into a savings account for future emergencies to build up that emergency fund. Next slide, please. According to several polls, Americans in their 30s have around $40,000 saved for retirement. By the time they're in their 60s, they'll need almost $1 million. And that's just downright scary, right? Well, that's why saving now for retirement is so important. Upping those 401k and IRA balances as soon as possible means you have more time to earn interest on that money. So once you've paid off your credit cards and you set up an emergency fund, make sure to sock away the rest for retirement. Okay? Next slide, please. When you total up what your side gig has made you, don't forget to include what it saved you. Let me explain. You don't need a wallet hub analysis to tell you this. When you're working more, you're spending less. Your time is literally occupied with making money, which leaves no time for shopping out of boredom or out of stress. So don't forget to include that benefit to your side gig. Basically, you're spending time making money instead of spending money wasting time. And with that remark, I'm going to hand it over to Gerald for any closing remarks. Thank you for your time this morning.
All right, thank you again, Doris, and thank you for attending today's educational webinar. To learn more about Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union or to speak to a member service representative, please visit www.princegeorgescfcu.org or call 800-952-7428. We would again like to thank our presenter, Ms. Doris Baker, and our partner, Coffee, for their continued support. We invite you to schedule your free 60-minute financial coaching session by calling Coffee at 866-459-5165. Also, if you would like to view today's webinar, our previous webinars, or register for our future webinars, you can visit www.princegeorgefcu.org/webinar. Thank you and have a great day.